All right, people, let's talk about why countries can't seem to get along. It's a question that has puzzled humanity for centuries. We see it on the news all the time: conflict, tension, countries at each other's throats. It's a constant cycle of disputes and resolutions. It's like that group project in school where everyone wants to be the leader and nobody wants to do the actual work. The struggle for power and control is universal. The truth is, countries fight for a whole bunch of reasons, some obvious, some not so much. It's a complex web of motivations and interests. Sometimes it's about something tangible like oil or land, resources that are essential for a nation's survival and prosperity. Other times it's about ideas like which political system is better or whose version of history is the right one. Ideological battles can be just as fierce as physical ones. But here's the kicker: even when we think we understand why a conflict started, it's never that simple. There are always hidden layers and unexpected twists. It's like trying to untangle a giant ball of Christmas lights. You pull on one string and suddenly three other things get messed up. It's a delicate and frustrating process. That's why understanding these conflicts is so important. It's not just about the immediate events, but the underlying causes and long-term effects. It's not just about knowing what's happening in the world, it's about understanding the forces that shape our lives, even if we're thousands of miles away from the fighting. These conflicts have a ripple effect that can impact us all. So buckle up, folks, because we're about to dive into the messy, complicated, and often frustrating world of international conflict. It's a journey that will challenge our perceptions and broaden our understanding. Let's start with the basics: resources. These are the fundamental building blocks of any society. Just like people fight over the last slice of pizza, countries fight over things they need. It's a matter of survival and prosperity. We're talking oil, water, land, the essentials. These resources are the lifeblood of nations. Think about it. If your country was running out of water and your neighbor had plenty, wouldn't you be tempted to share, or maybe just borrow it permanently? Desperation can lead to drastic measures. Then there's the power struggle. It's not just about resources, but also about dominance. Countries want to be the biggest, strongest kid on the block. They crave influence and respect on the global stage. This means having a powerful military, a strong economy, and influence over other countries. Remember the Cold War? It was a battle of ideologies and power. The US and the Soviet Union weren't physically fighting, but they were locked in a global chess match for decades, trying to outmaneuver each other for control. It was a tense standoff. Sometimes these two things, resources and power, get all mixed up. They become intertwined in complex ways. Countries with valuable resources become targets for those who want to control them. It's a dangerous game, and countries with powerful militaries sometimes throw their weight around to get what they want. They use force to secure their interests. Now let's talk money. Believe it or not, a lot of conflicts boil down to cold, hard cash. Countries want to control trade routes, secure access to markets, and protect their economic interests. Think about it. If your country makes most of its money from exporting coffee and another country threatens to disrupt that trade, you might be willing to fight to protect your economic lifeline. Sometimes economic competition can turn into outright conflict. Companies lobby their governments to protect their interests, and before you know it, you've got a trade war brewing. Section 4, Identity and History, Fueling the Flames. Okay, so we've covered the practical stuff: resources, power, money. These are tangible elements that can be measured and quantified. But what about the things you can't hold in your hand, the intangible forces that shape our world, things like nationalism, identity, and historical grievances? These are deeply rooted in the hearts and minds of people. These factors can be some of the most powerful drivers of conflict. They can stir emotions and mobilize masses. People are willing to fight and die for their country, their culture, their beliefs. These are not just abstract concepts, but core parts of their identity. And when those things are threatened, real or perceived, it can ignite a fire that's hard to put out. The flames of conflict can spread rapidly. Take the conflict in Ukraine, for example. It's a modern-day illustration of these dynamics at play. Part of what's fueling that conflict is a clash of identities. Russia trying to maintain its influence and Ukraine asserting its independence. This struggle is deeply personal for many. Then there are historical grievances, old wounds that haven't healed, memories of past injustices that fuel resentment and anger. These memories linger and continue to influence